Before the hook, we must establish the central premise of the video. After the Australian Grand Prix, something changed within McLaren. What looked like a solid start to the season ended up revealing a deep technical problem in the MCL40 as FIA and comparative data exposed how the team is really utilizing its engine aero package. That revelation has ignited a huge internal debate in Woking because, although the car is competitive, the numbers indicate that the real potential of the car is not being exploited at the level of its direct rivals. Now the hook of the video must open with a direct question to the viewer, generating immediate curiosity and leaving a mystery that will only be resolved later in the content. The FIA has just revealed something that no one expected after the Australian Grand Prix, and it has caused a real earthquake within McLaren. The MCL40 is not illegal, it is not under investigation, but the data has revealed what could be the car's biggest problem this season. How is it possible that McLaren has exactly the same Mercedes engine as the official team, and yet is losing up to a second per lap to them? The most worrying thing is that this problem is not something small that can be solved with a quick update. It is a structural weakness of the car that could completely change the fight for the championship. In Australia, the car gave no clear signs of being in crisis. De hecho, en varios momentos del fin de semana mostró un rendimiento sólido que permitió a sus pilotos mantenerse en la pelea contra algunos de los rivals más fuertes del campeonato. On track, the MCL40 looked stable, competitive and capable of defending positions on a complicated circuit, especially taking into account the changing conditions that characterized the race in Albert Park. However, modern Formula One is not analyzed solely by what is seen on the track during 90 minutes of racing. The real analysis begins later, when the teams, the FIA and paddock analysts examine every bit of telemetry, every energy data and every comparison between cars that share similar technologies. And it was at that moment that a completely different story began to emerge. The data that began to circulate within the paddock showed something that did not add up. McLaren was using the same Mercedes power unit as the official team, the same hardware, the same technological bases that power the silver car. In theory, that should put both devices on a relatively similar level in terms of energy performance. But when acceleration curves, electrical deployment, and the way each car managed hybrid power over the course of a lap were compared, it became clear that the McLaren was losing performance in a way that couldn't be explained simply by aerodynamics or strategy. The difference was too consistent to ignore. That is where the FIA played an indirect but crucial role in uncovering the problem. This was not an investigation into irregularities or a suspicion of illegality. In reality, what happened was something much more revealing. Upon reviewing global performance data for cars powered by Mercedes engines, it became clear that McLaren was not exploiting that engine to the same level as the factory team. The difference estimated in some internal analyses was between half a second and 1 second per lap depending on the circuit, a gap that in current Formula One is gigantic. It is not a small loss, it is a distance capable of transforming a car that is a candidate for victories into a car that struggles simply to stay in the front group. The explanation for this phenomenon points to a deeper problem than simple engine power. In modern Formula One, the power unit is just one piece within an extremely complex system where everything is connected. The thermal engine, the hybrid system, energy recovery during braking, electric deployment during acceleration, and the aerodynamic efficiency of the car must work as a perfectly balanced set. If one of those elements is not optimized, the rest of the system is affected. In the case of the MCL40, the data indicates that the car is having difficulty fully exploiting the potential of the hybrid system within its own aerodynamic concept. This becomes even more evident when analyzing the car's behavior in corners. Andrea Stella, head of the McLaren team, acknowledged that the car's deficit is concentrated in two key areas. The first is precisely the exploitation of the engine within the new energy balance of the category. The second is the lack of cornering grip, a factor that reduces the minimum speed that the car can maintain in the technical sections of the circuit. These two weaknesses feed off each other. When the car doesn't generate enough downforce in corners, it needs to compensate with power and traction on the straights. But if at the same time the energy system is not being used optimally, the result is a car that loses performance both in corners and in acceleration. And this is where the real drama within McLaren begins to take shape. Because this type of problem is not simply solved with a new front spoiler or a small package of aerodynamic upgrades. We are talking about an issue that affects the philosophy of the car, the way the chassis, aerodynamics, and power unit work together as an integrated system. Changing that balance can require months of development, major redesigns, and a profound reconfiguration of the way the car uses energy throughout a lap. In other words, it is not a minor setup problem, it is a structural challenge for the entire project. The most disturbing thing for the team is that this discovery comes just as the championship begins to take shape. Los primeros grandes premios siempre son el momento en el que los equipos descubren realmente donde están en comparación con sus rivals. Pre-season testing offers clues, but races reveal the truth. And what Australia has made clear is that McLaren has a competitive car, but also a technical limitation that could prevent them from exploiting their full potential against teams that have gotten the balance between energy, aerodynamics, and efficiency better. This is the point at which the story becomes even more interesting, because if the problem has already been identified by the FIA, by paddock analysts, and by the team itself, the next question is inevitable. Can McLaren solve it in time to maintain its fight for the championship, or are we seeing the beginning of a technical crisis that could completely change the course of its season? The true origin of the MCL40 problem did not appear overnight in Australia. In reality, it all started months before, during the development of the car and the technical decisions that McLaren made when designing its new concept. When a team designs a Formula One car, it does not do so simply by seeking more speed in a straight line or more downforce in corners. Each element of the car is connected to another, and any design decision affects the overall behavior of the car. What McLaren was looking for with the MCL40 was to further push the concept that had given them success in the recent past. An extremely aerodynamically efficient car, capable of generating speed without penalizing drag on the straight too much. But that approach, which seemed brilliant on paper, ended up generating a side effect that is now coming to light. During the winter, the team opted for an aggressive philosophy in the integration between aerodynamics and power unit. The objective was clear: optimize the balance between drag, aerodynamic load, and energy deployment of the hybrid system. In modern Formula One, this balance is absolutely critical, because the cars no longer depend solely on the power of the thermal engine. La energía eléctrica recuperada en frenadas y desplegada en aceleración se ha convertido en un factor decisivo para el rendimiento por vuelta. If a car manages to manage that flow of energy more efficiently than its rivals, it can gain enormous amounts of time even without having more raw power. McLaren precisely tried to build its concept around that global efficiency. The problem is that this concept ended up creating an unexpected limitation. To maximize aerodynamic efficiency, the team reduced certain areas of cornering downforce with the aim of reducing straight-line drag. In theory, this would allow the car to maintain a good top speed and take better advantage of the deployment of the hybrid system. But in practice, this load reduction generated a grip deficit in certain phases of the lap. When the car enters medium or high-speed corners, it needs enough downforce to maintain stability and high minimum speed. If this load is not sufficient, the driver must take his foot off the accelerator earlier than ideal or enter the corner with greater caution. That small adjustment in driving causes a loss of time that is later very difficult to recover. What the data showed after Australia is that this aerodynamic problem is directly connected to the car's energy management. When the MCL40 loses speed in a curve due to this lack of grip, the hybrid system is forced to compensate at the exit of the curve to regain speed. That means the car uses more electrical energy in acceleration than originally planned in the design. Over the course of a full turn, that pattern generates more aggressive power consumption, forcing engineers to manage deployment more carefully. The end result is a car that, although it has the same Mercedes engine as the official team, cannot use its full potential in the same way. After the Australian Grand Prix, McLaren's story is no longer just about a competitive car looking to continue winning races. Now it is about something much deeper. A team that has discovered that its own car hides a potential that is not yet being used in the correct way. What the FIA and the technical analyses revealed is neither a legality problem nor an outright crisis, but a structural weakness in the way the MCL40 combines aerodynamics, cornering, loading, and management of the Mercedes power unit. This imbalance is forcing the team to run with a performance margin that, according to the data, could be up to half a second or even more compared to the official team that uses the same engine. That's what makes this situation a real technical drama. McLaren is not fighting a lack of talent, nor an inferior engine, nor a completely wrong car. He is fighting against the limits of his own concept. A concept that was designed to be extremely efficient, but in practice has created a balance that is difficult to exploit when the car needs to maximize cornering grip and energy management at the same time. However, within that problem there is also an opportunity. The fact that the MCL40 remains competitive even with these limitations shows that the foundation of the project is still very strong. McLaren has a solid chassis, a technical structure that has demonstrated the ability to evolve quickly, and a driver lineup capable of squeezing every tenth available. If engineers can find the right balance between downforce and engine performance, the car could quickly become an even greater threat to its rivals. La temporada apenas está comenzando y todavía quedan muchas carreras por delante. Each circuit will offer new clues about the true potential of the MCL40 and how quickly McLaren can react to this technical discovery. In Formula One, we have seen many times how a small adjustment can completely change the outlook of a championship. And right now, McLaren's future depends on precisely that, finding a way to unleash all the performance that its car still has under the surface. Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.